Welcome back. My name is Matt, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Today we're going to paint one of the mainstay units for the Basileans, the human faction for Kings of War. And this one we're going to paint is a crossbowman. They can be equipped with a spear and shield, hand weapon shield, or crossbowman. I use the crossbowman because you can see what I'm painting a little bit more, but the shield shouldn't be too difficult to paint, or the spear, in addition to what I do here. The first color we're going to grab is beige red, which is our base color for the eye slits, the only skin on the whole entire miniature, and we're going to base coat it with that. Then very carefully, we're going to take a sepia wash. You can use any kind of sepia wash. This one is the Vallejo monocolor sepia, and just put a little bit on the eyes where we put our base coat of our skin tone. And once you got that on there and it's dry, we're going to go to our sunny skin tone and just put a couple little dots in each one of the slits to highlight this area. You're not really going to see it that much on the model when it's on its base, but we do it anyway. After our skin tones is done, we're going to take our Vallejo monocolor chainmail. This one here is a dark blue-black metal. We're going to do our armor plates, the helmet, the elbow pads, and the knee pads. And then we're going to do something different with the chainmail underneath that. After we painted all the armor plates, we're going to take the Army Painter gunmetal, which is a brighter metal. It's actually more silver in it. We're going to paint our chainmail around the armor plates. And after we finished with the gunmetal, we're going to go back with our chainmail and touch up the knee pads and a couple of places we missed. Our next color is Glorious Gold, and we're going to do the trim around the armor plates, around his shoulder pads, and a few other spots on the model just to accentuate the armor and break it up a little bit. And find yourself a nice small brush, detail brush to do this with. And be careful, but you don't have to. You can always touch it up with your gunmetal or your chainmail if you go out of the lines a little bit. Our next step is to take the gunmetal yet again, and we're going to just highlight the armor plates. We're going to take most of the paint off of our brush, not like a dry brush, it's more like an overbrush, and we're going to paint that gunmetal on the chainmail, Vallejo chainmail, on the spots that hit the light the most. More or less a highlight. And after we finish that highlight, we're going to go with a deep sky blue from AK. And this is where we're going to start our layering. We're going to do a 1/3 water to 2/3 paint in our mix. And we're just going to be base coating the cloth part on the front and the back of this armor. And when you're painting and layering, you want to dip your paint in the brush and wipe off the excess water. Just dab it on the paper towel and then put it onto the miniature. A lot of times when we're layering, we forget to do that, or we have too much moisture on it and it gets water spots, or it's not thick enough, or it drips everywhere, or gets on other stuff. So if you just tap it on a paper towel or a piece of cardboard or something before you start painting it, it should give you a nice smooth base coat to put on there. And you want to go over the cloth 2 times with this paint. Now we're going to introduce a second color to our deep sky blue. That's pastel blue. It's AK pastel blue. And we're going to put 1 drop of that in with our already mixed deep sky blue. And we're going to add another drop of water in there. And of course, doing the same thing, except we're leaving the crevices alone and we're just getting the tops. And this will be our second base coat, a highlight, but not necessarily a highlight. While we're at it with the blue cloth, we're going to go ahead and base coat the cloth on the front of the crossbow with this same color. And this will be a base coat for it. It'll be just a little bit brighter than his cloth. Make it stand out a bit. So our first color we're going to use to base coat his gloves, his boots, his belt is going to be leather brown. And don't forget about his quiver as well on the back. It's going to be base coated in this leather brown as well. And this is the same mixture as our cloth, our blue cloth, which is going to be 1/3 water, 2/3 paint, mixing that together, dabbing it on a paper towel before we hit the miniature. And we're just going to base coat everything. And now we're going to take flat earth to break up between the gloves and the boots. The color, his crossbow, we're going to paint in flat earth. And the crossbow bolt, we're going to paint in a AK's deep blue. We're not really going to do a highlight on this. We're just going to give it a nice coverage of color with 1/3 water, 2/3 paint, and just base coat it. And now I'm going to take dirty yellow. I just selected dirty yellow because I thought yellow would go well with the blue for the feathers on the crossbow. Now a cross bolt, I should say, the bolts. It could be more of a beige color or a feather color if you really want it to be, but I wanted to use a yellow because I thought the colors would go together very well. So I base coated those, the ones in the quiver and the one he's putting into the crossbow in this dirty yellow. Just a base coat, 1/3 water, 2/3 paint, dabbing my paintbrush off on a paper towel before I put it onto the mop. Now that we got the boots, gloves, crossbow bolt, and feathers all base coated, we're going to give it a wash of Agrex Earthshade over the entirety of everything. And you can put this with a little Lamia medium if you don't want it to be as dark, but since I like the leather pretty dark in the crevices, I'm putting it on straight on the gloves and the leather and on the crossbow and lightly on the feathers for the crossbow bolt, but not the blue on the bolt. And while we're waiting for the Agrex to dry, we're going to do our final highlight on the blue cloth, which we're just going to do straight pastel blue with 2/3 water, 1/3 paint. And we're just going to highlight the high points on our cloth with pastel blue. And that should finish up the cloth. After we're finished with the cloth, we're going to go back to our flat earth and we are going to highlight the crossbow. And this is pretty easy. We're just kind of doing the same 1/3 water, 2/3 paint on our highlight. And we're just going to drag a line across each one of the posts in the crossbow. And that's it. Just makes it pop out and the crevices stay dark. Once we're finished with that, our Agrex Earthshade should be dry, and we're going to start highlighting up our boots and gloves and our quiver and belt on the miniature with leather brown. And we're going to mix 1/3 water with 2/3 paint into our very first highlight. And since we darkened it so much with the Agrex, we're going to get we're going to paint the majority of the boots and the quiver and the gloves. And we're just going to leave our recesses alone, our deep, deep recesses. And once we finish that first coat, we're going to mix a little bit of Vallejo model color or game color earth into our leather brown. And we're going to start our very first highlight on the boots, the quiver, and our gloves itself. And we're going to stick to the solid surfaces and leaving the crevices alone, trying not to paint over that leather brown we just did. And we're going to do 2/3 water with 1/3 paint on this highlight. and we're mixing our earth with our leather brown, and then we're adding some more water. And we're going to put our brush into the paint, and then we're going to dab it on a paper towel to get excess moisture off. And then we're going to put it on the high points of our miniature, trying not to cover up all of the leather brown, but on our flat, smooth surfaces and things that hit the light. Once that's finished, we're going to take our leather brown earth mixture, and we're going to add 2 drops of khaki to it. Add maybe a drop of water if you need a little bit more water. We're going to hit the high points where the light hits the miniature the most on the leather itself, on the gloves, on the boots, and the quiver. And we're going to focus on those areas and make a few scratches with a very light stroke on the flat surfaces to make the leather look very worn. And once that's finished, we're done with the leather boots, gloves, and quiver. Now we want to add a highlight to our feathers just to make them pop out a little bit more on our cross bolts. And we're going to do that with dirty yellow and then yellow as the highlight on the spots that catch the most light. And with that, our miniature is completely finished. So now we're going to take a varnish. I use Vallejo's matte acrylic varnish, and I use a paintbrush on it. It's a little bit, comes on a little bit thicker rather than using a can or using my airbrush, but I think it'll tone down the metal just a bit and won't make it as glary and shiny, and it'll give a nice coat so your fingers won't wipe away the paint. With that, our crossbowman is finished, and that's all I've got. Ta-ta!